said, yeah, very nice person. That sign means I've done her. He hasn't done a thing. So once, about 6 months ago, at a similar dinner in Delhi, someone walked in and this very prominent Indian industrialist says, do you know her? I said, very well. Very nice person. He says, no other word, because, they're short on vocabulary. And I asked this girl to come forward, and I said, this guy says, he's done you. She looks at him, gives him one tight slap, and walks away, which I think was the best thing to have happened to that guy. Because after that, he hasn't appeared on the social scene in Delhi, for the last 6 months. So be respectful towards women. And we single people have mastered that art. We will always, always respect every relationship we are in at every time of the day. The problem with married single people is they take marriage for granted, and then they're experimenting with this whole single thing, as if they're going out on a hunt. That's where the problem begins. My other suggestion or my other piece of advice is never end a relationship. Always be friends with who you've been in relationships with. That is the hallmark of being single. We single people generally believe what goes around comes around, and one day she might come around, either 360 degrees or in whichever manner you want her to. So never close a relationship. Leave everything open-ended, as I said earlier. I also believe that in times such as these, and we heard what happened, and by the way, on a more serious note, I think what happened at the Grand Hyatt was reprehensible. I can't imagine how some voices even supported what happened, and how some voices continue to support what happened. Because I believe that we can't be disrespectful of any gender, man, woman, whatever. Never take a yes to mean anything more than a yes, and never take no to mean anything more than a no. A good single person knows that a no is a no and a yes is just a yes. It's not as if she's asking you to meet her mother. Many a time, we blur those lines of real clarity, communication clarity. I also have told people many a time that being single allows you to do things that life would otherwise not allow you to do. What does marriage ultimately mean? Marriage is entrapment. Once you marry, you're dead. You're almost dead. You know why? You've got to stay with that same person. You've got to do the same stuff. You've got to meet her mother. You've got to be nice to her dad. You've got to do all the routine stuff. That's why more and more people are unhinging once they've gotten married. And it's important to do that because I think the only good thing about being single is it allows you an unfettered world to explore. Single men travel more. It has been proven that single men have higher IQs. It's been proven that single men are far happier. It's been proven that single men are more respectful of women. Who are we going to throw the girdle at? It's been proven that single men treat women with greater care, give more expensive gifts than their husbands do, and always inquire about the well-being of that girl. Married people take all this for granted. I have seen, and this is the most despicable thing about Indian married men, and I'm sorry to bash men, they'll call their wives like this. Which school did these guys go to? I have seen more Indian men walk ahead of their wives instead of walking behind. The trick with singledom is always 3 steps behind, waiting for her to fall so that you be gallant and pick her up. You've got to strategize. And when I say single men have higher IQs, because we have to chart a strategy for every evening. We aren't going back at 10:30, and discussing, what did you do today? Where were you? Why was your phone off? Why did you return my call? But I told you to call me at this time. Why take you? Who were you with? Was your secretary at work today? You've been spending more time. But it only takes 40 minutes from airport to Taj Lands End. Why did you reach in 60 minutes? Who was with you on the flight? No one asks you these questions. Married men get asked more questions than people on Ornob's panel. And that is a real serious issue. Now, it is very warm here, huh? Obviously, we haven't got the air conditioning sponsored. The other thing that I've often told people is, and I mentioned this as one of the qualities, I'm going to expand on each of these qualities. Happiness comes more easily to single men or single women than anything else. We're always happy. We're always smiling. We have no stress. You'll never see us scowling. You'll never see us. Now, how do you know people are married in a restaurant? And the girl's looking at her menu, and the husband not even there. What'll you have? Tell him. The waiter also, come on, you cows, hurry up and decide. I will have this. Let her decide. The only people who don't converse in a restaurant are the ones who are married. The single guys will never order the meal. They'll only be staring into each other's eyes. Think about it. It's true consumer behavior. If you go on a holiday, the only people who will be holding hands are husband and wife. Why? Because they got to take photographs for their dirty little children who will show them to the grandmother. See, Mama, Papa went to Shimla. They were holding hands. Never be demonstrable is a quality that we single people have mastered. Never be demonstrable with your affection. Which is why the 3-step behind rule and that detached Lincolnian look is very, very critical for you to succeed. Single people, to my mind, are also people who aren't greedy because we have nothing. We don't want anything. You get greedy when you're in a relationship where you think there's a quid pro quo. No single man has ever been murdered for money. Most people who rob banks are married. Most people who steal from stock exchanges are married. Harshad Mehta was married. Ketan Parekh was married. Jignesh Shah is still married. These guys always steal. If you look at America, all the guys who've gone to jail in the last 1 year, all have been married. Single people don't go to jail. Every industrialist who went to jail for 2G, married. Now you tell me, is marriage such a good thing? And if they had a sobering influence, I mean, if the wives had a sobering influence, would these dolts go to jail? India's finest lawyer has always been single momentarily, Ram Jethmalani. If you look at some of the senior-most judges in India, they've always been single because they can reflect on what they say. We've had very good police officers who are married and happily married, but many a cop has been single. The finest chief minister of India ever since our history was Dr. Bidhan Chandra Roy, single. Jawaharlal Nehru, always single except when he bumped into Edwina. So we've got shining examples in history of people being single. The reason being that single people have no avarice. They have no lust. They have no greed. They are huge conservationists. They are like, Valmiki and his lot, going to a jungle every evening, respecting the law. They live in harmony. There's no stress. There's no fighting. There's no abuse. Which is why I always tell people, even if you're married, have a singularity about you. Now let me focus for the next 15, 20 minutes on the obnoxious bit. It's the best label you can get. You know why? Whatever you do in terms of good behavior will be such a nice welcome relief that people say, yeah, we always thought this guy was obnoxious, but he's a regular guy. Always create labels which are very easy to move away from or to navigate from. So a lot of people say, you're really obnoxious. And it must be an innocent, move your hand, don't utter a word look. The moment you utter a word, you've again painted yourself into a corner. I also say, and I've had these discussions, obnoxious in our country, to my mind at least, is a label that's very easy to fix on people who you don't agree with. So for the entire Congress party, the only person who's obnoxious is Modi. Easy, he's obnoxious. For the entire BJP, the only obnoxious person is Sonia. Easy to fix that label. To my mind, singularly obnoxious means something completely different. And I want to borrow from my debating days. When Bachi and Namita told me about this topic, and they said, we wanted to talk about being singularly obnoxious, my interpretation was, I will obnoxiously retain my singledom. It was not that I'm an obnoxious person who's also single. Debating, therefore, is another key ingredient. More single people have excelled at public speaking than married people. Married men mostly can't, assert themselves because their wives are always shouting them down. So if you hear of good debaters, you hear of good public speakers, by and large, they're all single people. Finally, and I want to change the rules of the game because I'm going to wind my way through the audience and ask some uncomfortable questions to some people, and then we'll do this Q&A. Finally, I believe you must learn to be happy about people like us. We make marriage look so good at times. We always support you guys. When people say, oh, they are married, I said, yeah, but they're happy. We don't bitch you guys out. We don't say you're like evil. Why do you take revenge on us? Why are you jealous of our existence? Why must every single man be a threat when we aren't? We're decent, regular people who are, eking out a daily existence of great challenges. You must respect the fact that we are battling for relationships, for friendship every day. So rather than attack us, support us, come onto our side, and I can trust you, you will have a great time. Because many of you, in any case, are envying our status and our state of affairs. So now if I can go around and ask some really sharp, pointed questions, and then we'll do the Q&A. Thank you so much. This is the fun part. So let's choose the festival director. How's it to feel single?
You said I had a boyfriend, right?
Yeah, but that's single, yeah.
Actually, it's very liberating. But I actually did appreciate all the tips that you gave me. And do they apply as much to women who are single as to the men?
Yeah.
We have to walk 3 steps behind them.
That's a great question. Well, I've never had an honest woman ask me these kind of questions, so I didn't prepare for this. But no, I think you should walk ahead. You should walk ahead, because then at least the guy can escape. You guys were smiling a lot, huh? You're obviously married. Yes, this is my daughter. Oh my God. What did I tell you? You asked someone, are you married? Yes, she's my daughter. I didn't discount that. I told you what's going to happen is going to happen. You've been married. Are you happy now?
I was happy then, I'm happier now.
So, point proven what I said. The happiness quotient always increases when you get out of a marriage. I mean, marriages are about happiness. I mean, thank God you've got her. Are you happy?
Thrilled.
Are you married? There you are. Happy. So everything I've told you is coming true. Are you married?
No, sir.
I mean, you don't have to be so definitive about it. I mean, you're straight? Yes. Are you straight?
I'm not married.
No, are you straight? See, another Indian trait. You ask an Indian, are you going to Bombay tomorrow? I've just come back from Coimbatore. No one will answer the question. You think about it. Okay, can I get another mic? You know, I'm feeling like one of these model coordinators. Oh my God, I hope there's no one in the audience. Yeah, it's not working. Yes, Tasneem.
Suhail, I want to ask you about love. You never talked about love. What about love in your life? Because all these little droplets, as you call them, of pleasure that single men experience. But the deepest pleasure is love, and you never dealt with that.
For those you know, Tasneem is one of the greatest museologists in India. Now you know why she's into museums. Love belongs there, darling. No, I'm just joking. She and her husband are delightfully happy, especially when they live in different cities. So, sir, married? Happy? No, what do you mean very? Does she cook well?
No, she doesn't cook at all. So that's
So what is the one thing you hate about her?
what you said. That's, I can't do a thing without her knowing about it well before that's happening. You get what I mean?
Neeraj, I hope we have single people in the CBI for a change. Married? Yes. Happy?
Yes,
Where's your husband?
somewhere in the audience.
What did I tell you? When you're apart, you're the happiest. Married?
Yes. Yes.
Where's your wife?
Right next to me.
Why?
Why not?
You're happy being next to him? When you could have anyone you wanted?
But I chose him.
How did you get married? I mean, forget the details of the rituals, but how did you all
Love
meet?
marriage.
Love marriage?
Yeah. She's
How long have you been married?
3 years.
3 years? We'll talk after 4 more years. Love marriage. I mean, the biggest goddamn impediment in a happy marriage. Are you married?
No, sir. No.
You're straight?
Yes?
Okay, don't have to hit me. Sir, are you married?
Yes.
Very much.
How very much?
Well, we are going. This is her 49th year
Of marriage?
of marriage.
If Piyush Pandey is in the audience, can we make them ambassadors for Fevicol? And they're even sticking to each other here after 49 years. Okay, now this is the tricky part. Hanji, married?